those areas with 13,000 workers at Trade Point and many more than that at the port. And we're very concerned. We're trying to work with our federal, state, and local partners in emergency services and letting our people know what is going on. And I had a briefing with the governor's office at 11:30, and we're talking about the important issues right now and how we're going to move forward.
Absolutely. And again, this is a multi-agency rescue and search effort right now. Dive teams, helicopters, boots on the ground, no stone left unturned. Again, especially for and again all of this unfolding at 1:30 in the morning as a construction crew was working on the bridge, never anticipating that any such a catastrophe could happen. When you were first alerted, what were some of those first conversations that you had?
When I got a call early this morning from the president's office, from the Senate, also a call from a friend that I know worked in the area that was concerned. I got a couple phone calls, and I didn't know at first what was going on, but when I saw what happened after the fact, when they sent me a photo, I was in awe and I was in shock, as a lot of us have been, and we still are. Is this real? So we're after I got that information, I reacted. I made phone calls. I were getting, as we all, texts like you wouldn't believe. I'm on and on. Been in conversations with the president's office and all those that I've mentioned, but and still right now, very concerned about the ongoings. And we're hoping that we can work with the right partners out there and to move forward and find maybe a different way we can do this for as we build our bridge, as we build infrastructure, working with every department. And I'm going to emphasize, this is not a party issue. This is a people issue. We need to look at this and say, what can we do now to move forward, working with our partners in every department?
Absolutely. And you really share such an important point when it comes to such tragedies as this. It's so important to put the politics aside and see this from a human perspective. And again, we are taking a live look at this aerial view, and it's just devastating to see the bridge such as this and who were impacted, the families, the crew members. When you're taking a look at efforts beyond today when it comes to rebuilding. And again, this is a major bridge in the Baltimore area, a major port. It's so important when it comes to supplies and deliveries, as well as transportation and daily commuting. When it comes to a project such as this, how does one move forward?
Where we're part of the budget and tax in the state of Maryland. I also part my subcommittee's transportation. So I have great contacts with our directors, with our secretaries. And now moving forward with this, we let people know the other areas of access so they can move and continue to go to work or go to other places that they believe they thought maybe they were stuck, but no, we have other avenues. So we give them those options and make sure that it's available to them. But at the same time, when we get these updates, we make sure that they know the updates as well. So we're going to do everything that we can to let the people know that live in the area and around the area, that work in the area. We'll have conversations and they will be ongoing. And we're going to make sure that anything that happens and moving forward, that we're in a state of emergency right now. So there's things that we can do to move forward. And I think we need to work together doing that as well.
And again, that's so important because, again, Maryland right now in a state of emergency as there are continued efforts regarding this breaking news. When we're talking about moving forward, what does the timeline look like? I'm assuming months, but could it even be years?
That's possible because of knowing the situation that we're in right now. I think knowing the availability, I guess you can say, of what we're going to have. You talked about materials, the things that we need, the important people that do this type of work. We have great workers. I just want to let you know, and they're non-union and union workers that have worked on these types of bridges, that worked at Bethlehem Steel for many years and did some major repairs. We have the operating engineers, we have the builders that are here that can do the work, and I thank those good workers that are out there. And that's how we need to do. We need to work with those people forward quickly, swiftly, and get the work done, but do it in a way that we know that it's not just getting a work or getting a job done. We're doing it in a
Absolutely, it is paramount when it comes to it's everything, really. Senator Salling, we do thank you for your time. Any last thoughts that you want to share with our Live Now from Fox viewers as we continue to follow all of the developments happening right now from Baltimore, Maryland?
we pray for the families. We pray for those that are lost. I want the people out there to just mention a little prayer today for those that are scarred. They're the divers that are out there searching and doing their work. So pray for our leaders. Pray for those that are making those decisions. We need your help and we need your support, need your prayers.
Absolutely. And at a time like this, it is so important to come together in unity. Senator Salling, thank you so much for your time. And again, all of our thoughts and prayers are with all those affected and all this catastrophic situation. So we thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. God bless you.
All right. So we are continuing to take an aerial view from Baltimore, Maryland, but we also want to share with you this live view right here because, again, this is a live look from Washington, D.C. Any moment now, we are expecting President Joe Biden to hold a press conference on the Maryland bridge collapse right here. And again, you can see the photographer zooming in on the podium right there. We are going to continue, of course, to follow that as we do expect the president to speak any moment now. We are going to step away for a 2-minute break. We'll continue to follow this breaking news in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. And you're taking a live look at two different areas. On the left-hand side of your screen, you're taking a look at a podium. This is from the White House. As any moment now, we are expecting President Joe Biden to hold a press conference on the Maryland bridge collapse. And on the right-hand side of your screen, this is a live aerial view of that bridge collapse right here. And you can see the very large shipping ship rather that caused this catastrophic collapse right there. Again, this is a live look from the Port of Maryland. And if you're just joining us in this noon hour Eastern time, we do want to bring you the very latest as we are awaiting the president to speak on this breaking news right there. But I want you to take a look at your screen if you're not doing so already, because the helicopter camera has zoomed in on the point of contact. This is the front part of this container ship that smashed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge, I should say, causing the bridge to collapse at 1:30 a.m. Eastern. So again, in the middle of the night, all of this unfolding as breaking news. And there was actually a construction crew on the bridge on a concrete deck at the time of impact right here. There were a number of vehicles on the bridge that then plunged into the water. So right now there are rescue and search efforts underway as helicopters, dive teams, the U.S. Coast Guard is having a multi-agency effort to find those unaccounted for. At the very latest, what we know is this: 6 people remain unaccounted for after this bridge collapse. In all, officials say there were 8 people on the bridge at the time of the collapse. However, rescue crews were able to retrieve 2 individuals, one who had to be taken to the hospital, the other who did not require that level of medical attention. But again, this is a very extensive search effort as crews continue to work to find and locate the 6 people unaccounted for. And again, as we continue to follow this breaking news, we continue to learn bits and pieces of information. We also want to let you know that the NTSB is going to be holding a news conference at 1 p.m. Eastern. They initially were scheduled for noon, but now the president is set to speak any moment now. So they shifted to 1 p.m. Eastern. And of course, we're going to bring you that news conference as it happens live, because again, they are the investigating agency into this catastrophe. Preliminary investigation, though, points to an accident. That is according to Maryland officials. There is no evidence of a terror attack. And earlier we did hear from an FBI spokesperson who said while they are continuing to investigate, at this point in time, there is no reason to believe that this is terrorism. So again, we do want to let you know about that. But again, the 6 individuals who are unaccounted for, of a construction crew, engineers right now working very closely with the NTSB to evaluate the structure issues of the bridge, because again, this bridge was built and completed in the 1970s prior to some of the very latest required safety measures in regards to bridges in ports. But officials say the bridge was fully up to code. So again, just to give you all of those latest details right here. And earlier we heard from the Maryland governor, Governor Moore, who said that there was actually a Mayday call that happened right before all of this unfolded yesterday and or this morning, I could say. And there was a very quick response, he says, that saved lives. Someone on the ship called out a Mayday, and crews were able to stop continuing to go onto the bridge. But again, right now, rescue crews are continuing to search for any survivors after this very large container ship smashed into this bridge. And just to give you an idea of just how big this bridge is, it's a 4-lane bridge. This is in the U.S. port of Baltimore. But again, there was construction happening in the overnight hours. And so the 4 lanes were narrowed down to 1 lane, which again slowed down the number of cars allowed on that bridge. And again, all of that very likely saved lives right there. We heard from the spokesperson for the Baltimore City Fire Department, who called this a mass casualty multi-agency event. And again, this operation could extend for days. Of course, the removal of all of this could be weeks, it could be months. And then we were hearing from Senator Salling, who represents this area of Baltimore. We had him live right here on Live Now from Fox. He's saying that, again, now is the time to put politics aside, to come together, to rebuild this bridge in a very safe manner. But that, again, could take years. So as you're taking a look on your screen right now, these are live aerial shots right here. And we are awaiting the president to speak any moment now. We are going to step away for a brief 2-minute break. On the other end of that break, we will continue to follow this breaking news. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox, and you are taking a live look at 3 different live locations as we continue to follow the breaking news of this bridge collapse in the port of Baltimore. You're taking, on the left-hand side of your screen, you are taking a live look at the situation, the scene of this tragedy that happened at 1:30 this morning Eastern time. This is in the port of Baltimore, and you can see part of a bridge in the water right there. That is the Francis Scott Key Bridge. This is a major bridge for transportation and deliveries in the Baltimore area. You can also see a very large container ship right there. And that container ship actually ran into the bridge at around 1:30 Eastern time. So again, there is a massive effort underway to determine exactly what happened, what caused this container ship to smash right into the bridge, causing the entire bridge to collapse. In addition to that investigation, there is the human aspect, as 6 people remain unaccounted for following that collapse. On the upper right-hand side of your screen, any moment now, we are expecting President Joe Biden to speak about this emergency situation. And again, Maryland is in a state of emergency right now. So as soon as President Joe Biden takes to the podium, we, of course, will bring you his remarks live in their entirety here on Live Now from Fox. On the lower right-hand side of your screen, you are taking a live look at another location in Baltimore, Maryland. This is where we are expecting the NTSB to provide their update on the bridge collapse. And again, that is scheduled for 1 p.m. Eastern time. And you can see the large number of microphones. This is the same location where we heard from the governor of Maryland, where we heard from a spokesperson with the FBI, a spokesperson with the U.S. Coast Guard, as well as the mayor of Baltimore, as they updated the various aspects of this investigation. So we are continuing to follow all of this, but we also are following the extended coverage from our team with Fox 5 DC. So we are going to briefly dip into that as we await the president to speak.
On the bridge at this point. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, doesn't mean it wasn't there, but as far as officially what the word is, we're not getting anything as far as anyone in any type of vehicular traffic, just those who may have been working on the bridge, either standing on the deck surface or in their personal vehicles at the time.
Yeah, but that coworker's message certainly given credence to what we heard about the sonar devices detecting cars and other vehicles underneath the water there. So there's certainly much more to it. Also, a lot of people are wondering about what occurred shortly before that collision happened. We can confirm, according to authorities, there was some sort of power issue or failure that happened just moments before it hit the bridge that was relayed to authorities, and a mayday was called. So they were able to call off and to stop more people from traveling across the Key Bridge.
Got all the details there, and we hope to get those answers when it comes to things that are moving from the National Transportation Safety Board. They are going to be giving a briefing in about 30 minutes. They said right around 1 o'clock or so. So we're going to have that for you live when it happens. And we'll see if they've been able to put together any more information in the last 11 hours since this impact occurred, that they can answer some of those questions as to what happened. We did talk to some maritime experts who said, with a ship this large, if something does happen to push it off course a little bit, it's very hard to get it back on course in a short amount of time, just because it's massive. It's a huge ship. I mean, you can see it just dwarfs what's left of the bridge that's wrapped around it. As a matter of fact, when you see the shot where you see the roadway on top of the front, it's kind of draped over the front part of that ship, and you think about how big a bridge seems when you're on a multi-lane bridge, and it's really just, it looks like a tiny bit of fabric that you tossed across the bow of that ship. Nonetheless, the ship is huge. It is one of many that come in and out of the Baltimore port every day. It's the third busiest port on the East Coast and one of the busiest in the country. Number one in the country for moving cars and vehicles. And that traffic is all stopped right now. They're not moving any other ship traffic. No cargo is coming in or out of the port of Baltimore until they find out what is happening with any recovery efforts or whatever they need to do as part of the investigation, which, by the way, that investigation is on all levels, from the city of Baltimore all the way up to the FBI. So there are multiple agencies that are working together in the Coast Guard and the county and the state of Maryland to try to figure out, to the best of their knowledge, what happened. And I'll just add one more point to the investigation. The ship and the shipping company, they have their own investigative team. You have global elements involved here because you had an Indian crew on a Singapore flagged vessel that was headed to Sri Lanka. So you have a lot of elements involved. So the story doesn't just have the world's attention this morning. It has a lot of the world all involved playing out.
And only about 30 minutes into that mission, they were scheduled to get there, I believe, April 22nd in Sri Lanka. And one thing we can say, even though we don't know the exact cause of this huge cargo ship hitting the bridge there, Governor Westmore did say during the news conference that authorities at this hour don't have any evidence of terrorist attacks or activity or even intentionality with it. They believe this was simply an accident.
Yeah, and the big question is going to be, why did the power fail? Right? Because if that's what started the whole thing in motion, we know from maritime experts that if the power does fail, if the rudder is not pointed straight, or if there's, water, if the river is flowing at a rate that's going to potentially move that ship, then it's hard to course correct. And this ship was traveling at approximately 8 to 9 knots, which was a decent speed in the harbor area, according to maritime experts, to try to turn it. We did see, and you do see on the video when you watch it, that the power goes out, comes back on, then it appears to go out again a second time. It did go out with another cockpit of the boat. question is, was it enough time to get everyone off the bridge? Now, we have heard some stories and some officials have said that they were able to stop some traffic from getting on the bridge, but clearly there were still people on the bridge and there'd be enough of an effort to get to those people, depending on how far out they were, right? From where you would stop the bridge traffic from entering, because the bridge itself is 1.5 miles long.
You gotta wonder what more could have been done to avert the scene that we see here. And also, we should mention that the crew members are still on that ship as we talk about it, and they've been in communication with the Coast Guard throughout the course of this morning. And also, for people who live and work in that area, they've been gathering as close as they talking about the emotional impact of this, but also financial. A lot of people have to get through that area and depend on the Port of Baltimore for a living. So there are certainly multi-layers to this multi-agency effort.
22 crew members on board and 2 local pilots from through the challenging areas like underneath the Key Bridge. They are well-seasoned watermen, and they were on board 2 of those pilots in addition to the 22 crew members. So you're right, Marissa. I mean, the first step that you take is to deal with the human element and to try to, at this point, it looks like more likely than not, a recovery effort. That is first and foremost. Then the investigation into what caused the ship to sway, lose power, end up in that bridge support, which brought down the bridge around it. And then after that, you have to look at the long-term fixtures, which is the economic aspect of it, the transportation aspect of it, rebuilding a bridge, which Governor Westmore said that they will do. But keep in mind, this bridge, when it was built, and it was built 50 years ago, took 5 years of construction time, plus the planning time in advance. And you don't typically have a backup plan ready to go because you never think you're going to be in this situation. So my point is, we don't know until we talk to other officials, and they don't know because they haven't figured out the timeline yet, how long it will be before there is another crossing in place, whether temporary or permanent. But it's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be next week or next month.
Yeah, you mentioned the word timeline, and right now, in the essence of time, the focus is on finding those people. And you know, we're looking at multi-hours now that we've been waiting, and so far only 2 out of the 8 people, the 8 construction workers, have been rescued.
And they were rescued right away.
And they were rescued right away. One in serious condition, but still with us. And earlier this morning, they were talking about how difficult it was. You had low visibility. I mean, it's dark at 1:30 in the morning, freezing temperatures in the water. And then further in the morning, we talked about the tide coming in, just a series of challenges. I know that later on in our coverage that individuals face who unfortunately end up submerged in a river, you know, in water there, and also with the search and this.
I'm curious to hear about that because it's our understanding that the water temperature at the time at about 1:30 this morning was somewhere around 48 to 50 degrees. And, you know, some underwater experts will tell us that your survival rate in the best condition maybe up to around 10, 11 hours, which is where we are right now. This is the path, what you're looking at right here on the left. This is the path that the ship took as it left the port of Baltimore, traveling down the Patapsco River to head out into the bay. And you can see the Dolly is the name of the ship heading out there, and then it just veers ever so slightly, and that unfortunately is where it veered right into that bridge support. And as you've seen from the video, the bridge then just looked like a house of cards or a Lego set or an erector set, whatever. Almost looked like if it was an implosion, but nonetheless it wasn't. The ship hit it, it came down, and that's where we are right now.
The result's still the same, though, when you look at the aftermath of it. And again, we are awaiting President Biden. He's going to address the nation regarding this Baltimore bridge collapse any moment now. You can see them in the Roosevelt room there, setting the podium for him to speak.
That should have been our last heads up, and a little inside baseball there is typically you'll have the officials